There's a truth about addiction almost no one talks about. A secret powerful enough to set you free, if you're willing to hear it. But you'll only understand it if you stay with me until the very end. Miss it, and you risk staying trapped in the same cycle forever. You don't yet realize just how much of your life is shaped by invisible battles. Addiction isn't just about cigarettes, alcohol, sugar, or endless scrolling. It's something deeper, older. It's the ancient war between who you are and who you could be. A quiet struggle between comfort and courage, between your shadow and yourself. Carl Jung didn't see addiction as a failure of will. He saw it as a message from the soul, raw and urgent. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, he wrote, to avoid facing their own soul. What keeps you stuck isn't laziness or lack of strength. It's fear. Fear of meeting the real you in the silence. Picture this. It's late. You're alone. The world is quiet, but your mind is loud. You feel that itch, that tug towards something, anything, that promises to take the edge off the pain. You know the relief won't last. But for a few minutes, it's better than feeling what's underneath. So you reach for it. The smoke, the scroll, the drink, the binge, the escape. Then comes the crash, the guilt, the silent vow. Never again. And yet, it repeats. Why? Because we misunderstand what cravings really are. Most see them as enemies, monsters to resist or bury. But Jung turned this on its head. He believed every urge, every compulsion is a messenger. A part of you trying to speak a truth your conscious mind doesn't want to hear. Think about it. If you were whole, fulfilled, and at peace, what would you need to numb? What would you be running from? Cravings are not random. They are the language of the soul's pain. Addiction isn't just a bad habit. It's a cry for meaning. This is why so many fail to heal. They fight the urge with discipline, but never ask the deeper question. What is this craving trying to tell me? What part of me have I silenced, shamed, or locked away? In Jung's terms, that part is your shadow. The shadow is everything you reject, everything you deny, everything you're afraid to face. And the more you suppress it, the more power it gains. Addiction is the shadow in disguise. It pretends to offer comfort, but it thrives in secrecy. You tell yourself, I just want to relax. I just want to feel good. But beneath that, the shadow whispers, you're not enough. You're unlovable. You'll never change. Every addiction is a mask, and most people spend their lives rearranging that mask, never realizing the transformation only starts when you dare to remove it. We live in a culture obsessed with willpower. Be strong. Just say no. But if that worked, you wouldn't be here. Jung wrote, "The shadow is not defeated by force. It is only transformed by attention." Imagine trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you push, the more it resists. That's what suppression looks like. Eventually, it bursts to the surface stronger than ever. That's how most people live, suppressing, denying, fighting, until they snap. You can't white-knuckle your way through life. The craving always returns. But what if the goal wasn't to suppress the craving, but to understand it? That's where the shift begins. And in the next chapter, we'll explore how observing the craving without judgment becomes the first step to reclaiming your power. The next time the urge hits, don't run. Don't fight. Just notice. Pause and ask yourself, what am I really looking for right now? Is it comfort? Distraction? Connection? This is the beginning of self-mastery, not controlling the craving, but becoming conscious of it, observing it, not becoming it. In that moment of awareness, something shifts. You begin to hear the story underneath the surface. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's the ache of loneliness. Maybe it's a quiet voice that says, "You'll never be free." But just by noticing, you create space, a gap where a choice can be made. Most never make it this far. They're too numb, too distracted, too scared. They'd rather stay in the dark than risk seeing what's hidden there. But you, right now, have already stepped onto the path, because curiosity is the first rebellion against addiction's power. Jung believed that every craving, every shadow, is an invitation. If you dare to listen, your craving is asking, what have you refused to feel? What part of you is begging to be heard, healed, welcomed home? Healing doesn't start with war against yourself. It starts with making peace with your wounds, your longings, your forgotten dreams. Most will never do this. They'll fight, fail, blame, repeat. But the few who stay, the ones who ask deeper questions, they find something far more valuable than just relief. They find themselves. And that's what this journey is really about. This isn't a video about hacks or miracle cures. It's a mirror, one that shows you what you've avoided. And if you can face it, even for a moment, you begin to write a new story. Stay with me, because now we go deeper into the hidden mechanics of this cycle. Most people don't realize how addiction takes over. Jung called it possession. A force inside you begins to act on your behalf while you feel like a passive passenger. You say, "I don't want to do this." But your body, your habits, your hands, they move anyway. How many times have you promised yourself, "Never again," only to find yourself right back where you started? It's like something invisible is pulling the strings. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "No person is free who is not master of themselves." But Jung's genius was in showing that self-mastery isn't about brute force. It's about understanding what drives the current underneath your choices. Because addiction isn't just an action, it's a ritual, a pattern, a script you perform when life feels too much or not enough. But here's the truth few understand. Every ritual carries meaning. Every habit holds a message. You don't crave the cigarette or the scroll or the drink at random. There's always a trigger, a feeling, a thought, a moment that makes life feel unbearable or hollow. Maybe it's the stress after a long day, the silence before sleep, the sting of someone else's success when you feel left behind. And the craving arrives, not as a shout, but as a whisper. Let's not feel this right now. Let's escape. But what if you didn't run? What if you turned around, met the craving face to face, and asked it, "Why are you here?" The answer might surprise you. In the next chapter, we'll explore what happens when you stop running and start listening. How philosophy teaches us to ask the questions that hurt, and how psychology shows us the strength to sit with the pain until it reveals what we really need. So, what happens when you stop running? When you finally sit with the craving, not as a failure, but as a messenger, you begin to see it clearly. Not as something to be crushed, but as something to be understood. Philosophy teaches us to ask even the painful questions. Psychology gives us the strength to hear the answers. You've heard the advice before. Use willpower. Be strong. Just say no. But here's the truth no one tells you. Willpower is not infinite. It runs dry. It gets tired. And when you're exhausted, stressed, overwhelmed, that old pattern, the one you swore you'd escape, comes flooding back. Carl Jung saw the unconscious as a vast ocean. Your conscious will? It's just a small boat on the surface. If you only focus on rowing harder, you'll exhaust yourself. But if you learn to read the waves, to recognize the signs of an approaching storm, you can navigate without fighting so hard. This is the real power, noticing your patterns without judging them, seeing the craving not as failure, but as information. Information about what's missing, about what you truly need. Jung believed in the magic of names. What you can name, you can tame. So next time you feel the urge, try this. Pause. Don't resist it blindly. Just name it. This is anxiety. This is loneliness. This is the part of me that wants to be soothed. It might feel strange at first, too simple, even childish, but it works, because naming something pulls it out of the shadows and into the light. And what you bring into the light, you can finally begin to change. When you can say, "I know why you're here," you take back control, not by force, but through understanding. Here, psychology and philosophy meet. The goal is not to kill the craving, but to integrate the part of you that uses it to cry for help. Jung once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. To accept the craving not as the enemy, but as the voice of a wounded self. That's the beginning of real healing." So how do you do it? You begin with honesty. When the urge rises, resist the temptation to distract or shame yourself. Instead, ask, what am I avoiding? What emotion scares me? What dream did I bury a long time ago? You may uncover fear, grief, anger, and that's okay. That's part of the process. Most people turn back here. They say, "This is too much." But every time you face your shadow, even a little, you reclaim power. You weaken the hold the craving has over you. No, you won't be free in a single day. But each time you bring awareness to the pattern, you loosen the grip. You rewrite the script, one choice at a time. Philosophy asks us to endure the discomfort of not knowing. Jung asks us to trust the process of becoming whole, not by cutting away the ugly parts, but by inviting them in. And as you listen, not numb, not distract, not run, you begin to hear something new, a different voice inside. Quieter, yes, but wiser. It doesn't yell or punish. It simply says, "I see you. I know you're hurting, and you don't need to escape anymore. You can stay." This is the beginning of self-trust. This is what Jung called individuation, the journey of becoming whole. And in the next chapter, we go even deeper. You'll learn how to use the energy of your cravings, not to destroy yourself, but to transform, to turn addiction into alchemy. You've made it this far, and that matters, because most people never get here. They turn back at discomfort. They click away when it gets hard. But not you. You stayed. And that already proves something profound. You're not just chasing relief. You're searching for change. Carl Jung didn't believe in quick fixes. He believed in alchemy, the ancient art of transformation, the process of turning something heavy, dark, and painful into something valuable. Not by throwing it away, but by understanding it, by letting your awareness melt it down into something new. Every time a craving rises, it brings energy. Most people waste it. They suppress it, shame themselves for it, or try to drown it in distraction. But what if you used that energy instead of wasting it? The old alchemists believed that even poison could be turned into medicine, if you knew the secret. Jung believed your addiction, your craving, isn't a curse. It's the very raw material from which your new self can be forged. But it starts with a change in mindset. Instead of asking, "How do I get rid of this feeling?" ask, "What is this feeling trying to teach me? How can I use its energy?" Because craving is energy. Pure, potent energy. It signals that something within you wants to move, wants to heal, wants to grow. So the next time the urge strikes, don't let it pull you into the old pattern. Channel it, redirect it. If you want a cigarette, pause and breathe deeply instead. Not to fake control, but to honor the feeling underneath. If you want to scroll endlessly to numb your mind, pause and write down one sentence. Just one. Something raw. Something true. This is the difference between unconscious repetition and conscious transformation. You can't always stop the urge from coming, but you can choose what you do with it. And over time, this choice changes everything. Jung observed that people who truly escaped addiction didn't just quit. They transformed. They replaced old rituals with new ones. They traded hollow comfort for meaningful connection. This is the real work. Create new rituals, ones that serve your soul. If stress made you reach for your old habit, replace it with grounding. Feel your feet on the earth. If loneliness led you to numb your mind before sleep, replace it with truth. Write the thought you're most afraid to admit. If pain made you want to run, give yourself 60 seconds to stay, to breathe, to name it, to feel it, even if it hurts. Small rituals done with full awareness become the tools that change your life. They turn shadow into self. They create space for the truest version of you to emerge. Because addiction doesn't just point to where you're broken, it points to where your power lives. Hidden, waiting. And every time you face it, every time you choose awareness, you step closer to becoming whole. You begin to change your identity, not through willpower, but through self-recognition. You're no longer just the addict. You're the observer, the alchemist, the one who holds pain without being consumed by it. You might wonder, how will I know if I'm really changing? And the answer is subtle. You'll notice the shame grows quieter. The panic fades. The voice of self-hate starts losing its edge. And something new takes its place. Trust. One pause at a time. One honest question at a time. In the next and final chapter, we'll explore that hidden reward. The one most people never discover. Not just recovery, but revelation. You'll learn how to turn every craving into a compass, one that leads not back into darkness, but forward into purpose. You've arrived at the final chapter, not because the work is finished, but because something inside you has already begun to shift. You didn't just watch this, you stayed through it. That matters. It means you're not just craving change, you're becoming it. This is the reward most never expect, the hidden treasure at the heart of the struggle. The truth that addiction isn't just something to overcome, it's a path to something deeper, a way back to yourself. Carl Jung believed the purpose of life was individuation, the process of becoming whole. Not by cutting away the parts you don't like, but by welcoming them, integrating them, learning from them. Your cravings were never the enemy. They were signals, clues, messages from the parts of you left unheard, unloved, untouched. And now, you begin to see. Every urge, every moment of discomfort, every whisper to escape. That was your soul trying to get your attention. So what do you do now? You keep showing up, not with perfection, but with presence. When the urge hits, don't just react. Use it as a bell, a signal, a reminder to pause and check in. Ask, what do I truly need right now? Do you need connection, rest, truth, expression? Find one small, honest way to give it to yourself. A breath, a word, a choice. Every time you do this, you weaken the old pattern, and you strengthen the new one. This is the alchemy of craving. Not turning away from the fire, but walking through it, and realizing it was the forge all along. Addiction wants you to believe you're stuck, that you'll never change, that you'll always be broken. That is the lie. The truth? You are already changing. Not in a loud, dramatic way, but in the quiet moments where you choose awareness over avoidance, curiosity over shame, compassion over judgment. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep coming back. Jung wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." And now, so are you. You're not just someone who struggles. You're someone who sees, who listens, who dares to look beneath the mask and meet the truth face to face. That is rare. That is powerful. And that is yours. So here's the final challenge. The real one. Every time the craving returns, see it not as a setback, but as a guide. Ask it, what are you here to teach me? And then listen. Really listen. Because beneath every craving is a part of you that longs to come home. And the moment you choose to welcome that part instead of running from it, that's when the healing begins. You may not feel completely free yet. That's okay. Freedom isn't a finish line. It's a direction. And every step you take, no matter how small, is progress. So keep going. You've already done what most will never dare. You've faced your shadow. And now, you'll never be ruled by it again. Not after this.